Hi VC, it's Rob here with another video, and this video is going to be a sort of a thread response to Jeff Calico Silver. Really good channel, Jeff. Don't take yourself too seriously, but he does upload a lot of quality reviews on Bob Dylan albums, etc. So, but Jeff likes answering questions, and he set some questions here, so 12 questions. Seen a few people on the VC jump in on this, so I thought I'd stick my 2 pence in. So starting off with the first question is, if one of your musical heroes died, do you avoid their music? Well, I suppose my musical hero is Paul Weller, and he's still alive and kicking. If Paul Weller dies before I do, it will affect me, because it's been a big part of my life for over 40 years. Whether I'd avoid his music, I'm not too sure. I can remember sort of the first person dying from music that sort of affected me a little bit was Elvis. I remember Elvis dying in '77, and although I wasn't a fan, it kind of hit me a little bit that he was only 42, and he was such a, an icon. 3 years later, John Lennon was shot, murdered, and that affected me. I was working with a guy who was a big Beatles sort of John Lennon fan. He grew up with the Beatles, and he was, visibly upset. And again, I was just shocked that he'd been taken from us. And even now, 40 years on, it's heartbreaking, really, what happened to John Lennon. Closer to when David Bowie died, I think I sort of saw that coming in a way, but it was still a shock when George Michael died and Prince died. But those artists, although I do like Bowie and Prince, I don't think I'm sort of an obsessive sort of fan. So although I was upset, more shocked with Prince, I think. I didn't see that one coming, but I don't really think it would make me avoid the music. Probably the opposite, really. The second question is, would you wince if other artists record music by your sort of hero? So I'm trying to think, if sort of a young band decided they were going to do a jam sort of tribute album, I probably would maybe wince a little bit. I'd probably be curious as to how it would sound. I think artists like Bob Dylan and Neil Young have had their work covered by a lot more sort of artists, particularly Bob Dylan. And a lot of people seem to prefer the other versions and the Bob Dylan versions. So, but I'd be curious, but I'm not sure whether I'd enjoy it. The third question is, do you listen to classical versions of your favourite music? I'm not a huge sort of classical music fan. I know Pete Tong, the DJ, has done sort of a classical album of sort of dance tracks, which seems not really to be a good idea. I'm sure he got good sales from it. Classical version of Dark Side of the Moon, really, I don't think that's for me. The fourth question is, should bands who replace their frontman continue with the same name? This is a tricky one, because there's been some bands over the years who have changed the frontman quite a lot. AC/DC, a lot of sort of heavy rock bands seem to go through lead singers, and it doesn't seem to really affect them. But because I'm not sort of into that sort of music, I couldn't properly comment. I know Yes have had 3 or 4 different frontmen. I think Queen are the one that sort of people get a little bit hung up on. I mean, Freddie Mercury, such an iconic frontman, to change him with, I think it's Adam Lambert, does seem a little bit of a stretch. I mean, when Bill Wyman left the Rolling Stones, there wasn't an uproar that the Stones continued to use the name the Rolling Stones, similar to sort of when Keith Moon died and replaced him with Kenny Jones. Giant Whistle died. I think the Who really, even though they were a tight unit, I think Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey are the Who. The Doobie Brothers is a funny one because I think Tommy Johnson, maybe, I can't quite remember his name, the original singer, and they sort of totally transformed their sound really with Michael McDonald. But their sort of success probably went to another level. So bands like the Stranglers have sort of lost Hugh Cornwall and carried on as the Stranglers. You know, I know when the Undertones, Fergal Sharkey left, I think the Undertones are touring now without Fergal Sharkey, which I don't think I'd go and see the Undertones without Fergal. New Order, of course, Joy Division lost Ian Curtis, but sort of reincarnated themselves. Could they have continued as Joy Division? Possibly, but under New Order, you know, they had a new career really and huge success. So I think it depends really. The fifth question is, do you like bonus tracks on albums? Well, this is more for CDs really, but sort of coincidence, Paul Weller's released a new album, #1 in the UK, and I was streaming that album and I was finding it a little bit of a disappointment, but the more I played it I started to get into it, and there was a track called Fourth Dimension, which when I was streaming it was sort of the 11th track, and I thought, right, I'm going to go and buy Weller's album. So I went to buy it, and I mean, it was 27 quid, which I thought was a bit steep, and it's on a double album, and I had a look at it, and Fourth Dimension isn't on the album. So I actually stopped myself from buying the vinyl album because I didn't realise it was a bonus track. I had a look on the CD, and it's a bonus track. So bonus tracks can be better than the tracks that are actually on the album. I've got a few examples here. So I've got Stanley Road, Paul Weller, and I've got sort of this box set which has got extra tracks on it, which is really good. And I've also got Wake Up the Nation by Paul Weller, which has got sort of a bonus disc with added tracks and different remixes, and yeah, I've really got into this. So I do like the bonus tracks, but I think it's when I'm a massive fan of the artist. So Paul Weller bonus tracks, I'm interested. Some other bands, then I wouldn't be as interested. Box sets, should they have overlapping CDs on? So I've got a couple of examples here. So I've got the Police box set. So this is really nice, but this is sort of the 6 albums into 4 discs, which isn't ideal, but there's some extra tracks on it, and it was pretty cheap, this. So I think if I was buying the Police have released all the CD albums individually, so in a nice little box set, and I think it's only about 15 quid. So if you haven't got any Police albums, that's a nice way of getting the discography. But yeah, this was cheap enough, and it's pretty nice. But then I've got sort of Miles Davis. So Miles Davis, this has got 3 CDs on it. I don't know if you can hear my cat, it's meowing, most annoying. Just hang on a minute, I'm just going to go and see what's going on. Go out! Out! Oh dear. The reason that my cat was meowing is because, yeah, I've got a dead bird here, so, oh dear. Anyway, where were we? Oh, box sets. So Miles Davis. So this box set has got kind of blue on it, and these are sort of individual discs. So this works really well, and this was kind of my first introduction to Miles Davis. I've had this for many years. So we get like an individual sort of booklet with it, kind of blue there, and sketches of Spain. So this is really, really nice. I mean, box sets, you can get them relatively cheap. I've had a look. Shannon Dee's doing a series on Joni Mitchell, and you know, I've seen the box set. Rachel Music Man's got it, and it's under £30 for like 9 albums. So that's a really nice thing to get. And the Birds one I was looking at as well, because I don't have any sort of studio albums by the Birds. Now, this is a bit of a confession. So, an artist or a duo that I, you know, slag off from time to time, I do actually have a box set of Simon and Garfunkel. So, I've had this for many years. Picked it up, I think it was a £5 from a supermarket. And this is nice if you like Simon and Garfunkel. You know, you get all the individual CDs. You know, really should investigate Simon and Garfunkel a little bit more, because I do kind of dismiss them. But I do have a box set of Simon and Garfunkel. Now, do you hesitate to read autobiographies? Well, I do read autobiographies. I've got quite a few Paul Weller ones, Keith Richards one. When I read an autobiography, I'm always aware of who the artists are, and there's not really going to be any surprises in it. I mean, when my autobiography comes out later this year, I mean, if you read that, your opinion of me will probably change. So I think nobody's perfect. Everyone's got flaws, and you know, I don't think Paul Weller's a saint. I mean, he's got 8 kids from at least 4 different women. So you know, and he's got his own demons, had his own issues over the years. But that makes for a more rounded person. So it'd never sort of, I wouldn't ever lose respect by reading someone's biography. Are you an apologist for your musical heroes? I suppose I am, in a way. I'm a big fan of Paul Weller, but his album before his new album, I think it was called True Meanings, I didn't like that album. I actually gave the CD away as VCLT. I found it a real drag, a real slog. And his new album, you know, you won't have me singing from the rooftops about it. I think it's got some good tracks on it, but when Paul Weller was in the Style Council, he was recording B-sides, I think, that were better than the stuff that's on his new album. So I'm not an apologist for Paul Weller. If he does something that I think's below standard, I'm the first person. I'm probably the opposite. I'm pretty critical. Do you feel silly? It's question 9. Do you feel silly about being a collector, knowing you'll never listen to all your music? Yeah, I do sometimes. I mean, I see people on the VC, they don't buy the music to listen to it, because even if you've got 1,000 records, you're never going to listen to all those records. So it's like a drug, the buzz of going to find something and being curious about different. I mean, the VC is pretty bad for it, because it sort of sparks your interest in bands who maybe you dismissed in the past, and you sort of you're in a record shop and you see something relatively cheap and you think, yeah, I know I've been guilty of that over the last sort of 18 months that I've been on the VC. I am definitely being much more selective about what I buy. I mean, since the lockdown ended, I've been in a couple of record shops and I've actually walked out and not bought anything, which is something that in the past, certainly over the last 18 months, I've never done. So I'm trying to sort of curb the addiction, and that's what it is. You know, I see people on VC showing, you know, vinyl haul videos, and you know for a fact that those are just sort of collection fillers. But you know, if you're not spending your money on music, what are you spending your money on? You're not doing any harm, and it's a great hobby. So, but I do feel silly. Next question is, well, what's that say? Tired of? Do I ever get tired of listening to music? I wouldn't say I get tired of listening to music. I do have breaks and listen to music, I suppose. But I can listen to music quite a lot at work, depending on what job I'm on. So that's a good way of sort of listening to artists that I've not checked out properly and new albums. But when I watch sport, I tend to listen to music instead of listening to the commentary. So I think nearly every day I do listen to music. What's always surprises me is people who aren't into music, you know, or people who are into the same music as they were when they were a teenager. For me, music's all about exploring, and although it doesn't have to be sort of newly released music, it can be music that you've discovered that's from 30 or 40 years ago. It's new music to me. You know, bands like Pink Floyd are like a new band to me, because I've sort of discovered them through the VC and given them time and discovered I really like them. Question 11, when people leave a comment and they don't watch your video, I do think that may happen from time to time, when they just leave a comment which maybe relates to the start of your video. But some of my videos are quite long, and to expect someone to watch a half an hour video which involves me ranting about the COVID-19 is a bit hard to bear. So I know people don't watch all my videos, and if you've got this far, thanks very much. But yeah, it's just nice when people leave a comment. I always get back to people. I do get quite a lot of thumbs down on my videos, which I notice a lot of people don't get as many thumbs down as me. And I think a few people must just dislike me and leave a thumbs down. But yeah, at least they're doing something. And the last question, have you ever thought of quitting YouTube? Not quitting, but I've certainly reduced my videos from... I think when you first start on YouTube, on the VC, you want to get some videos out there, you want to get your name noticed, you want to feel as though you're part of the VC. And I think the way you feel part of the VC is if you enter contests and you do threads and tags and stuff like that. I think if you just do videos and just expect people to find your channel and comment on all your videos, you've got to be interactive, you've got to be part of the VC, and being part of the VC is, entering contests. I think I've done 100 videos, I've probably entered over 30 videos of sort of contest entries, so I think it's important to enter contests when you can. The problem sometimes is people do a contest and it's questions you've answered before, so the longer you're in the VC, I think you are a little bit more selective about the contests you enter. But I can't see myself quitting the VC in the short term. I do enjoy it, but like I say, I don't really put as many videos out as I used to. If I put one video out a week, sometimes more, but that's what I'm sort of aiming for. So that's 12 questions, and thanks, Jeff, for putting those questions out there. Like I say, I've seen a few people respond, and I thought it was an interesting thing to jump in on. Sorry about the interruption in the middle of the video. Looks like I've got a bird to bury, so these things happen when you have cats. So if you want to leave any comments, I'll always get back to you. If you're a new subscriber, thank you for subscribing and watching my videos. If you're an old subscriber, thanks for hanging in there, and that's it from me, and bye for now.